Hey guys, welcome back to Release the Craftin. Priscilla here with that blink and you'll miss it alert to Moz in the Scratic. That is what we're doing here. It is my month-long scrap busting ephemera making challenge. And today, the prompt is gilding. It's day 11. And I'm gonna gild some stuff. That's what we're doing. How are you guys? How are you doing? How have you been? How's your mom? How's your dad? How's your sister? How's your brother? How's your wife? Your son? Your husband? How are your people? Is everybody doing okay? I'm doing okay. I have this leftover packaging bit, which is actually Lori from PD Pie Designs. If you were watching this is what those film strip stickers I gave you came in, and it was just a single sticker in this piece of packaging, which is absurd. So after I pulled them out of the packaging and then sent them to Lori, I was like, well, you gotta do something with these, so I'm gonna turn them into bookmarks. Little specimen window bookmarks, I guess, are the thing. And I'm going to do that by using the Ranger sticky embossing powder, because I ran out of the mono glue that I use, the Tombow mono glue, which made me very sad, because that is my preferred form of glue for gilding, because it stays tacky after it dries. This powder has like I have like a love-hate relationship with it, because it does work. It is sticky. As you guys can see, stuff is sticking to it. But it is also very temperamental in how you heat it, because if you overheat it, it dries. If you underheat it, it doesn't become tacky. So you have to sort of like look at it sideways and see when it becomes like wet looking, and that's when you're done heating it. A second too long, dried. A second too short, you still have powder. And so, like, it's just fussy to work with. And then, like, no matter how hard I try, I will not get every little bit of this covered in gilding as much as I want. And then I find in some places it just rubs off if you still haven't got the tack correct on this powder. So it's honestly more trouble than it's worth. I think it would be nice for, like, just stamping single small images and stuff, maybe. Like, you know, if you wanted very fine gilding and stuff like that. But I'm trying to cover a large area, which, honestly, glue would have worked better. And I could have smoothed down a bunch of, like, art glitter glue, smushed a bunch of foil on there, waited for it to dry, and then wiped it off. But that's also time-consuming, and I didn't want to do that either. So I'm going to spend a very long time being very fuzzy about trying to get as much coverage out of this as possible. Mostly, I'm trying to make sure that I don't have big gaps in my gilding, and I was going to go with, like, a bright gold color for these, but then I decided, digging through all of my foils and stuff, that I have this color, which is Gemstones from Cosmic Shimmer, and I don't use it nearly as much as I should. So, yeah, I wanted to use that. It has all the colors. But as you can see, the base is like a bronzy color, so we're gilding in bronze with a little bit of gold. But it's also got, like, reds and blues and purples and all sorts of fun, like, colors in it, so I wanted to use that. And then using a little blending brush to burnish it, to keep all those little, like, flyaway pieces out. I will not be able to retrieve all the gold foil bits inside of this package. It's okay, we're not going to see it at the end. But I wanted to make sure that there wasn't anything that was going to, like, impede the process. And then I have this little bit of acetate that it actually, like, fell out of the package and has been sitting on the floor for so long that I was like, every time I saw it, I'd be like, use this. Use this in something. Use it soon. But, like, nothing in my brain compelled me to pick it up. Don't ask me why. But then I finally did. I finally did pick it up. Which is hilarious because I've been stepping over it as opposed to picking up, and that is just how ADHD works. I don't know how to tell you guys. Until I was ready to accept that this was something I had to confront, it did not exist as far as I was concerned outside of that passing thought. So I'm going to ink it up because I want it to look grungy and gross. And here's the thing I was talking about in the last video where I was like, these aren't reacting in the way that I expected them to, because when you pull up alcohol ink, it stays tacky a little bit, so you can smush in foil to it. But for whatever reason, even though, like, I could feel the tack with my finger on this Barely Art alcohol ink where it had, like, pulled up, it would not stick anything to it. And then the more I tried, the less tacky it became until it was tackless. So, like, I don't know if it's just got, like, a different base or adhesiveness or what, or if I dried it too much maybe, which is also possible. But yeah, it was like, no, I will not be sticking gilding to it, because I wanted to add, like, another layer of gilding. And And yeah, that didn't happen. So I was like, okay, well, moving on, because I don't have time to spend trying to make this happen. And so now I'm using my StazOn ink in the gray because I want a very, very subtle bit of stamping like texture in the background. What I don't realize, I should have like considered this, is that StazOn is a solvent ink. So it is solventing. It is dissolution. It is picking up alcohol ink as it is being set down. So it does stamp. Everything is fine with the stamping, but there's like a subtle white outline to the stamping because the solvent is dissolving some of the alcohol ink. You'll live and you'll learn, honestly. It's fine. It doesn't ruin the effect for me, so I continue on. I could have re-inked it after it dried and tried to add like another layer of inking to it, but really you barely can see it, so like I'm not trying to lose any sleep over it, you know what I mean? And then I have these moth stamps, so instead of using the moths from my Moths in the Closet kit, I thought it'd be fun to use these ones. Plus these ones are symmetrical, and that's important because I'm gonna flip these around and stamp them again. So yeah, I like that. Plus everything was so colorful and like grungy brown colored that I thought having this pop of black and white would do like wonders. It would be very good for the juxtaposition in like a color scheme, to go from something very colorful to something very like monochromatic or achromatic, because there's no color. So what I'm going to do is fussy cut these out, and I start out by thinking I'm going to get really close, and then I was like, no, that's silly and stupid. You need to leave a border because you're going to stamp on these again, and if you get super close to the edge and then you try to stamp on these again and you're off by a fraction of a hair, it's going to be very, very obvious, whereas if you give yourself a border, it's going to be less obvious because you'll still be within the frame, you know what I mean? So like, yeah. And you might be like, why does it matter if you stamp the back? It's because it's going to show through a little bit, not a lot of it, but a little bit, and that's important to me. I could have left them plain. I could have left them. If you have asymmetrical butterfly or moth stamps, and you're like, if I stamp this and I flip it around, it's not going to look the same on the other side, don't lose any sleep over it. But most butterfly stamps are symmetrical, so you should be able to do this. Yeah, I'm just going to flip it around and stamp them back down. And this is very satisfying. Cutting them out into the little shapes and then turning it around and stamping it again and just being like, oh yeah, there it is. There's exactly the thing that I wanted here on the other side, and it fits perfectly. Super satisfying. So yeah. That's it for this step. Oh, I have to dry it because the versified ink takes forever and I don't want to smudge it with my fingers. This is my only like detractor for this ink. I really like how it stamps. I really love this ink. But it takes forever to dry. So, having said all that and done all that, the conclusion is now to cut our acetate sheets so that they fit inside of these little pockets. And I did think about making this like dimensional, I guess. I don't know what you'd say, like a full pocket with like both sides done. But then I was like, no, you're just making a bookmark. You only need one side, and that's fine. And you'll see here, I will come to regret not putting the tape on the back side as well, because then I have to go back through with glue and glue them down. Because, yeah, this is a pocket, and so that means that the other side is also open. So yeah, here's me going, crack. Now we gotta go through and glue this down. Yep, Thought you were just gonna have to do the top and bottom, but nope, now you gotta do the sides too. Could have just done tape and been done, but nope. Now you gotta worry about the glue seepage. Yep, that was a problem. Thankfully I can just scratch it off the acetate, that's not a big deal. But that's what happened. So then I'm like, okay, so we made little like see-through window type pockets that we apparently got glue on all sorts of surfaces somehow. And then do I learn from my mistake and add tape to the second piece? No, I just commit to the bit and do them both the same, because why would I learn from my own mistakes, my own shortcomings? No. Well, because the other one has glue, so now this one also has to have glue, otherwise they're not symmetrical. That was my takeaway. What was yours? Just the goofiest person sometimes, I swear. So then I'm like, okay, so we're making a bookmark. We want to make sure that this is visible. So we're going to punch a little hole in here, get a little eyelet in there so that we can run a little bit of a fiber of some kind through and get our result. And since the prompt is gilding, we are going to use gold. This is the point in the game where I was like, huh, there's not as much gilding here as much as there is foiling, but there is gold in the gilding, so I am going to say that counts either way. But also, gilded eyelet, so haha. It's about layers. And then it was more of a matter of trying to decide how I wanted these to look, because I was like, oh, you could put them in here in the window, and they'd be like little specimens, and that would be cute, but then it would be horizontal, and your bookmark is vertical. So then it became like have them framing the little frame, and then look, you can see them on the other side through the window. That's why we stamped both sides, for that little peekaboo moment. And then here's where I don't learn from anything that I've ever taught myself ever in the history of art or done, because I wanted to stick some of these little like eucalyptus stickers on them. Do I stick them down first before I glue everything else down? No, I make it difficult. Also, that one particular moth would not stick down. I don't know why. Don't ask me why. I had to come back in with heavy artillery after the fact. But yeah, so now I gotta smoosh these in underneath the moths because I did not have the foresight to stick them down first. And then, of course, after the fact, I was like, well, you could have just stuck them on the back and had, like, the shadow of it poking through. But, again, no, I don't want that. So I didn't do that. I just made it more difficult to stick down than anything else. But I really like how these came out. I like the little pop of green against all this brown. It definitely breaks it up. I like that they're like acetate, and then you can't really tell what color they are until you stick them on a page, like a background. And then, oh yeah, I pulled these out of my like, what's it called, ribbons and fibers bin, so they're super tangled. So they were at the bottom of the bin, and then I'm like, oh, I can stick both of these through this little tiny 3/16, not even 3/16, what's the smaller one, 1/8, like it's a 1/8 eyelet, I think it is. Yeah, no, you cannot stick both of these through, Priscilla, it's so silly. Don't worry, I figure it out quickly. Or not that quickly, because I'm still doing it. Here we go. So we stick the starry silk through. And then we're going to take this little, I don't know what these ribbons are made of. I always want to say, like, chiffon, but I don't think it's a chiffon ribbon. Unless it is. I don't know. I don't know things. And then we're going to make that into a little bow, because I didn't like the way it was looking. So I tied it through the little loop, and then was like, I don't like that either. So why not make a fussy little bow? And then I actually really like the bow. The bow is really cute. So we make another bow. And I don't know. It's a strange little fun pop. It brings in the green color. It works out well at the end of the day. And I'm happy with the overall result, even though making bows is fussy, especially when they're small and you weren't planning to make a bow in the first place. But let me know what you guys think. Bow? Are we on Team Bow? Because I feel like I'm on Team Bow. I like the way it looks. And I'm happy with these. I think they're fun. And then I realized at this point, because I've been making everything in groups of 3, that I only made 2. Because I only had 2. I could have maybe replicated this with paper, with a scrap paper. But I didn't. I just had scrap packaging. Because this was going to go to the bin otherwise. But yeah, this is what they look like at the end. Come back tomorrow, see what we make for the next edition of Moths in the Scratic. And I will see you guys all next time. Check out the playlist, see what everybody else is making. I appreciate your faces, and goodbye!